Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, reach out to me, Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. What you're looking at is a seminal piece in the history of the manufacturer de Bethune. The 2005 DBS, which I hold in my hand, was a milestone in design, drawing on pocket watches, pendant watches, various types of clocks, vintage-inspired timepiece that also pointed the way to the future with the open dial and the combination of visible barrels, barrel bridge, escapement, balance bridge, balance, and Moonphase that would later come to characterize the iconic DB28. And this was the beginning of bringing all the mechanical features to the front on the dial side. The watch is unusually shaped, a little bit like a bell, and it's difficult to describe its size, but I'm going to be clear that if you were to put this on the wrist, it's going to wear 46.1 lug-to-lug. So that's the most important measurement. It's less relevant to think that it measures 42.6 from side to side, because that's not really how it fits or doesn't fit your wrist. And I'll show you in a minute. It's thinner than you think, too, at 11.3 millimeters thick. Of course, there is a conventional lug down at the bottom, but the unusual junction with the strap at the top means you're going to be going full custom or factory. Taking a look on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, the case is actually the same one as my own DBD. This watch, though, is more revealing of the movement and considerably thinner than the DBD. And you can see that well. It will fit underneath the cuff easily. Now, I talked about the way the watch wears and how 46.1 is the important measurement. That's 46.1 across the wrist. So keep this in mind, and I think you'll find this watch will wear well on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. I don't see any issues with that. And down the barrel, you can see I've got a decent amount of clearance. Not super thick and over the top, which exaggerates the width of the watch. It is still inboard at the edge of my wrist. Now, all in white gold, this is a hefty piece. It was made in several different metals, but they are dense machines. You can see here we have a combination of a textile pattern on the top, a gusset sewn in to prevent gouging, and then on the bottom we have a conventional calfskin. There is that unusual bracket mount, which keeps it quite secure, and then we have a buckle, which is also made of white gold. You can see the hallmarks on the inner face of the buckle right there, rolling around. This hinge-style lug was the beginning of de Bethune's experimentation with flexible or variable geometry lugs. So interesting. I always spoke of this as a seminal transitional model pointing the way to the future, and this really did. It's not the floating lug, but we're starting to look in that direction. Note that it's a monoblock case. The bezel and the case are all one piece. Everything loads through the back, which makes for a super seamless look on the top. It's gray gold, which is the good kind of white gold, the expensive kind that's white all the way through and doesn't need rhodium plating. By this point, you can see on the case back, de Bethune was making its own cases, so this is a full manufacture product, case and movement both. Taking a look on the dial side, you can also see these little ogival caps at the bottom, a little styling vestige of the original DB1 chronograph, which when this was made was only 3 years removed, but this is a design element that's found its way in almost all de Bethune watches, with only a few exceptions since the very beginning of the brand. Now on the dial side, we have Côte de Bethune, which means that the stripes are mirrored from side to side. On Côte de Genève, you just have one swipe from the abrasive wheel and it spins in the same direction and makes the same pass all the way across a bridge or bridges, whereas here you could see a reversing of the wheel leads these stripes to be mirrored against each other on both sides. We have fired hands at center. We have fired titanium cabochon acting as the hour indices. We have the Moonphase, which is actually a bevel gear driven 122-year Moonphase, so it only needs one adjustment every 122 years. This little push adjuster allows you to do that, so it's a perpetual calendar style Moonphase. With its long endurance and its unique spherical form, it is a patented element on this watch. Much of this is patented. In fact, you'll find that we have twin self-adjusting barrels that can never be accidentally overwound. Even though it's a manual wind, you cannot overwind it. That's patented. 6 days of power reserve indicator on the back to make that self-evident. On the dial side now, again, you can see this balance design. De Bethune keeps scrapping its old balances and designing new ones every time Denis finds a way to improve the design. I always recommend people keep their original balances and not upgrade when the watch goes in for service. This is the 2005 balance. You'll notice it's non-annular. It's not a ring. It's like two opposed yokes made of titanium fired blue with platinum masses. So it reduces the impact of temperature change on timing, reduces the impact of aerodynamic drag on timing, and it also helps to concentrate as much of the mass as possible in the rim outboard of the balance. That's patented. The hairspring curve is shaped manually. The flat hairspring is cut into two parts, shaped manually, and then clamped back together. And the effect is that it's as thin as a flat hairspring, but it breathes concentrically with isochronous operation in any physical position like an overcoil. That curve is patented. We have 1, 2, 3 shock protection springs. The flanking springs are polished and satinated steel. This is triple parachute. Yes, it's there to prevent you from damaging the watch, but it's also there to improve chronometry. 4 hertz beat rate, so no tricks are played in order to get that 6-day power reserve. You can see that the beveling on the edge of the bridges is as fine as anything you'll source in Neuchâtel, La Chaux-de-Fonds, Geneva, and you can see on the center bridge as well as on the flanking bridges. Snailing on the barrel caps and solarization on the ratchet wheels. You can see we have these tiny little blue cabochon inboard of the hours, and then the hour track itself is cambered and then media blasted for a unique aesthetic. We have this drilled out minute track that surrounds the center dial, and you can see engine turning underneath the balance. A fantastic watch that's an important document in the history of de Bethune and its evolution, right down to the deltoid center bridge that reflects Denis Flageolet's philosophy that the company should be aiming ever upward. Denis is the co-founder and still watchmaking lead at de Bethune. It also resembles a leaf he found hiking outside his house in L'Auberson. So it has a lot of meaning to the brand, and this is a great way to get into the brand if you haven't tried it yet. So reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details, and because I'm sure someone wants to know these obscure facts, it is a 29 joule movement and 30 millimeters in diameter. 30 meters water resistant, and yes, it does have a screw down crown, but please do not swim with it. Reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing.